Allbirds, the footwear brand, is making a wild pivot. They're betting $50 million that GPU supply is the next big frontier. We're unpacking what that means for your product roadmap, plus new tools from Google and Microsoft that could actually cut your costs today. No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host, Vikash Sharma, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. Let's dive into the headlines for this week. First up, Google just shipped a major update to its voice technology. Gemini 3.1 Flash TTS, or text to speech. And it's not just another voice. This is a preview release packed with granular control over style, tone, and pacing. We're talking about being able to dial in specific emotional registers or even create multi-speaker dialogue all within one system. It supports over 70 languages, which is huge, and it's scoring really well on benchmarks like the Artificial Analysis TTS leaderboard with an ELO score of 1011. Google's making it available via the Gemini API, Google AI Studio, and Vertex AI, and they've even integrated their SynthID watermarking for added trust. Now, for builders, this is a big deal because it lets you build truly production-ready voice features without having to chain together multiple vendors or complex tool chains. Imagine your customer support bot not just speaking, but speaking with a specific tone that matches your brand, or even having a conversation between multiple distinct AI voices for interactive content or educational modules. The broad language coverage here also means less friction if you're looking to localize your product for global markets. You're not just getting a voice, you're getting a controllable vocal performance right out of the box, and that's incredibly powerful for creating engaging user experiences. Next, NVIDIA is diving deep into the world of quantum computing with Ising. They've unveiled a new family of open source AI models specifically designed for quantum error correction. And this isn't just incremental improvement. These models are delivering 2.5 times faster results and are 3 times more accurate than previous methods for fixing errors in quantum systems. NVIDIA's put these checkpoints up on Hugging Face, which is great for accessibility, and they're integrating them with NVIDIA NIM and CUDA-Q, their quantum programming platform. We're already seeing early adopters like Harvard, Fermilab, and IQM putting these to use. Why does this matter for builders, especially if you're not directly in quantum? Well, for those teams operating in the quantum space, this significantly reduces the real-time tuning burden that's always been a bottleneck. It signals that AI-driven operations are starting to mature even in highly complex fields like quantum computing. And the fact that it's open source really lowers the barrier to entry for researchers and developers to start experimenting and building with these cutting edge tools. It's a foundational piece that helps stabilize a very volatile new compute paradigm, making future applications more feasible. Also in the mix, Microsoft just released MI Image 2 Efficient, a new model specifically optimized for lower cost image generation. Their goal here was speed and cost efficiency, and they've delivered. It's reportedly 22% faster than their previous MI Image 2 model when running on H100 GPUs. And for builders, the pricing is always key, right? They're charging 5 per million text input tokens and $19.50 per million image output tokens. You can access this through Microsoft Foundry and their MI Playground. What's the takeaway for you? If you're generating high volumes of images, this could significantly improve your unit economics. Predictable, lower pricing helps immensely with margin modeling for products that rely on AI imagery. However, and this is a crucial point, there's a bit of a hype warning here. Microsoft recommends MI Image 2 Efficient for scenarios that require sharp, clear lines. Think product mockups or specific design elements. It's not necessarily a general purpose replacement for all your image generation needs, so make sure to test it against your specific use cases to see if the quality holds up for your product's requirements. And finally, the headline that's gotten everyone talking. Allbirds, the well-known consumer footwear brand, has announced a massive $50 million pivot into AI compute, specifically GPU as a service. They've executed a $50 million convertible financing facility, and their plan is to rebrand the company to Newbird AI, acquire substantial GPU assets, and then offer that GPU capacity to the market. Now, this isn't a done deal yet. It's contingent on stockholder approval at their meeting on May 18th, 2026. This is fascinating. For builders, a successful pivot like this could potentially introduce a significant new alternative GPU supplier outside of the traditional hyperscalers. More supply could mean pressure on prices and expand the options available for developers and startups looking for compute. But, and this is a big but, this comes with a strong hype warning. It's a highly speculative pivot for a company with no prior experience in infrastructure. The execution risk is significant, and it's a stark reminder that even well-established brands are feeling the pull of the AI gold rush, sometimes in unexpected ways. Now, if you're finding this useful, hit follow in your podcast app right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next briefing. Let's dive deeper into that. Allbirds GPU pivot, because frankly, it's one of the most surprising and telling stories of the week. So what exactly happened here? Allbirds, the company known for its sustainable wool sneakers, secured a $50 million convertible financing facility. With that capital, they plan a radical strategic shift, rebranding to Newbird AI and acquiring GPU assets to establish a GPU as a service offering. Essentially, they want to become a cloud provider, but specifically for AI compute. This is all conditional, of course, on getting shareholder approval at a meeting coming up on May 18th of this year. It's an almost unheard of jump from consumer goods directly into deep tech infrastructure. Why does this matter right now? Well, it sends a very strong signal to the entire market. It suggests that even non-tech entrants, companies from entirely different industries, see enough significant upside and persistent demand in GPU supply to consider such a radical strategy shift. This move implies that the underlying need for compute power is so acute and potentially so profitable that it's drawing in players who traditionally have no business in this space. It validates the idea that compute, GPUs specifically, remains a strategic bottleneck and a highly valuable asset underpinning almost every AI application out there. It's a clear indicator that the compute crunch isn't going away quietly. So who should really care about this? If you're a based in a startup founder or an indie hacker, more GPU providers, especially new ones, could translate into reduced costs and better availability for your models and applications. Think about it. Fewer bottlenecks mean you can iterate faster, run more experiments, and potentially scale without being held back by compute access or exorbitant prices. For infrastructure builders and those already in the GPUs space, this is a validation of market demand. It underscores that the supply remains tight enough to attract entirely new entrants, though it also highlights the non-trivial operational execution required. And for larger companies or strategic investors, this move simply reinforces compute as a strategic asset, something worth board level attention, influencing everything from M&D decisions to R&D budgets. It's not just about what models you're running, it's about where you're running them. How would I think about this as a builder? Well, it's a bit like a modern day gold rush, right? Everyone's looking for gold, but the real money often gets made selling the pickaxes and shovels. Allbirds is effectively trying to sell pickaxes. As a builder, you've got to balance excitement with a healthy dose of skepticism. On one hand, diversifying your compute supply chain is always a good thing. If Newbird AI somehow pulls this off, it could indeed lead to more options and better pricing for you. On the other hand, running GPU infrastructure is incredibly complex. It's not just buying some hardware, it's about cooling, networking, software stacks, security, and a relentless upgrade cycle. My mental model here is that we should always welcome potential new entrants because they can drive competition and innovation. But we shouldn't bank our roadmap on a highly speculative pivot until they've proven they can actually deliver reliable, scalable service. My no BS take: this Allbirds pivot is speculative, undoubtedly, and carries significant execution risk for them. It's less about a new proven competitor emerging overnight and more about the vivid signal it sends. The demand for AI compute is so insatiable, so strategically critical, that it's making companies consider truly radical, high risk, high reward plays. It's a strong indicator that if you're building an AI, ensuring robust, cost effective access to compute should be a top tier strategic priority. Don't fall for the hype of a simple rebrand, focus on the underlying market dynamics it reveals. If you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, here it is: experiment with Gemini 3.1 Flash TTS to prototype a voice driven feature in your team. Seriously, this new level of control is a game changer for user experience. Here's how to try it in under 60 minutes. First, sign up for access to the Gemini API or explore Google AI Studio. You can usually get started with some free tier credits, which is perfect for a quick prototype. Next, identify a simple workflow in your product or an internal tool where voice could add value. Maybe it's a quick verbal summary of project status, a guided onboarding for a new feature, or even just a more engaging error message. Pick something small and contained, like a single user interaction. Then use the Gemini API to generate a few sentences with specific style or tone parameters. Try generating the same sentence with a friendly voice, then an authoritative voice. Experiment with multi speaker dialogue. You could literally code a tiny script where an assistant voice asks a question and a user voice responds, all generated by Gemini. This lets you immediately feel the power of that granular control. Why is this specific experiment worth your time right now? Because building truly natural, expressive voice into your product has historically been expensive and complex, often requiring professional voice actors or multiple AI services. With Gemini 3.1 Flash TTS, Google's offering a unified, highly controllable solution that reduces that friction significantly. Understanding its capabilities firsthand could unlock entirely new user experiences or vastly improve existing ones, giving your product a real competitive edge through richer, more human like interactions. You'll quickly see if that multi speaker dialogue or precise tone control is something your users would genuinely value. That's it for today's No BS AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing.